Hi, welcome to Sacred Enzyme. I'm Stacy. So in my commitment to going into my community and trying to help make a difference, I have volunteered to lead the committee to start a food forest and it's a self-sustainable community where I live. And so here we have probably about 500 homes at this point. When I first moved here, it was about 200, but it's gotten quite a bit bigger. I think we have about 700 residents. So we're about 30 miles from the nearest grocery store. We're way out in the sticks, okay? So to give you a general idea of where I live next to the Central Florida forest, the Central Florida scrub forest here, right in the middle of Orlando and Tampa on Highway 60. So what I did was I went to my board. First of all, I went to my board with a proposal. So what I first did was I put together a short-term and a long-term vision plan, a short-term through a long-term vision plan. And I tried to break it into smaller segments of 1 to 3 years, 4 to 7, so on and so forth, on up to a 20-year plan. And just taking it, the sky is the limit. Because I feel like if you're going to do something in your community, that you got to create some excitement, right? You got to get people excited so they want to volunteer. Okay, so the short-term vision I submitted it to my community and they absolutely loved it, to the board. So they loved it, and so they told me to go back and take this first portion, my first 1 to 3 year short-term vision, and break it down and to see how we could go ahead and take this first part of this vision and make it a reality. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to share to you what our short-term vision is in the first 3 years. Okay, so the first point is to establish a thriving community garden with up to 50, maybe even 50 plus plots, or one whole community garden. Develop a permacultural design incorporating our native plant species, pollinator-friendly plants, and agroforestry practices. So the third point, we want to host regular community events, workshops, classes on sustainable gardening, nutrition, and environmental stewardship. Create a community-supported agriculture program for members to purchase fresh, locally grown produce. Develop partnerships with local schools, churches, and businesses to promote community engagement and outreach. Okay, so we went back, and after we had this initial plan, we took the first part, and our committee, which I established a committee, and try to find people that this is their jam, and that want to have something like this, that have like-minded goals. Because if you have people that you have on a committee to do this and they're not interested, you're going to lose momentum quick. So I brought the committee back in, and I was like, okay, guys, this is what they want us to do. So we need to go back, and we need to look and at the first 3 year plan and break it down. Okay, how can we attain this? Let's just pretend that we are on the most shoestring budget of shoestring budgets, right? So so we go, let me see if I can find my original, the original one. Okay, here we go. Excellent. Okay, so we revised it, and then we took this to the board. So we made it pretty, and one of my computer savvy committee members, who's totally awesome, and she's a yoga instructor, and she has a channel on YouTube called Cup of Soil Yoga, and her name is Serena. She is just like me, totally hyped about this, and our energy together, we could probably make this happen, and hey, we may at the end, but this is what we put together. So we put Friends Food Forest of Indian Lake Estates. Okay, so the background and context of this is rooted in community. Indian Lake Estates is a peaceful, nature-rich community, but it faces a real challenge. The nearest grocery store is nearly 30 miles away. For many residents, that distance limits access to fresh, healthy food and creates daily strain. A community food forest offers a powerful solution by transforming unused land into a thriving ecosystem of fruit trees, vegetables, herbs, and pollinator plants. We can create a free, local source of fresh food grown by and for the community. It's a place where families can gather, learn, and grow together. It strengthens food security, promotes health, and it even builds a deeper neighborly connection. More than a garden, though, the food forest becomes a living classroom, a meeting place, and a safety net, especially in uncertain times, which are coming. It fosters resilience, reduces grocery trips, and helps our community become more self-sufficient. When we plant together, we grow together. So our objectives. Our food security and access is to provide free or low-cost access to fresh, nutritious, and culturally relevant foods, to reduce our reliance on distant grocery stores. Our community building and empowerment, foster collaboration, shared ownership, and pride among neighbors. Create inclusive, welcoming spaces where all ages and backgrounds can participate. Education and skill building. Teach regenerative agriculture, permaculture, composting, and foraging, offering workshops, classes for kids and adults on gardening, cooking, health and wellness, and sustainability. Our environmental restoration will be restoring soil health and increasing local biodiversity, supporting pollinators and wildlife with native plants and natural ecosystems, and not to mention the health and wellness aspect. So we're going to promote physical activity, mental well-being through outdoor work and connecting with the planet, classes, and our connection to nature. So our scope deliverables are our deliverables. Okay, we need to first establish our location. Where are we going to put this? This is the first and the most important thing is you've got to find a spot, right? So we need to secure a central location for the community garden food forest, okay? Everybody needs to be able to get to it. We need good access, okay? And so we first have to conduct site assessments and planning. Okay, so this is the first thing on our list. Most important is to find the spot. The second thing is to create our layout and our vision, okay? We need to design the layout for the beds, for the walkways, the irrigation, and the other features. Create a detailed map or a blueprint of the garden, inclusive of major food and wildlife to promote, right? Okay, so then we've got the big elephant in the room is how are we going to finance this, folks? Like, right? Where are we going to get the money? If we're on a shoestring budget, we're going to have to raise some of this money ourselves, right? So let's think of some ideas. We can do car washes. We can do bake sales and sponsorships. We can do 50-50 raffles. We can do neighborhood sponsorships where our neighbors can buy seeds, right? Or they can buy a little sapling, or they can buy a tree, and that could be dedicated to that neighbor, right? And local businesses and organizations and grants. So the grants, this is the one thing that I want to talk about. Okay, so if you're in an incorporated community, which I'm an incorporated community, the best thing to do to qualify for any kind of money is to have a 501c3 nonprofit. And so when you establish this opens the door for your grants, because we missed a great grant opportunity that was out by Florida Blue, and the deadline was May 20th, and we couldn't qualify for it because we're not a nonprofit, and there's not anybody here that has a nonprofit. Okay, so this is the thing. So if you are in a deed restricted neighborhood, you have to have a meeting with your board, and you have to say, we have to revisit our bylaws. We have to revisit our bylaws because we have to figure out how we can incorporate a 501c3 nonprofit into our community. How are we going to pay for it? Who can we get will head it up as an individual, right? Who's going to bite the bullet? This is something that we have to do, because once you do that, you can apply for rural climate grants. You can go to Purdue Farms. They have a grant. Constellation Energy, they have a community grant. And there's so many other places that you can qualify for grants. So the biggest thing is raising money, grassroots, everybody putting their heads together and saying, how can we do this, that we can do this on the cheap? And then the other thing is, just donations. So, money, soil, seeds, hay, cardboard boxes, mulch. We can use tree trimmings, coconut coir, leaves, etc. That makes great. I showed it to you in my garden outside. Using as much recycled material as possible to build beds, to fill the beds, to label all the beds with selected food. Even building greenhouses with recycled material. Or going out into our local businesses and saying, hey, this is what we're trying to do here. Do you guys want to partner with us? Do you want to sponsor us? So many different things. We can build our irrigation systems and our canal systems and our birdhouses and all of these different things. And, we can do a lot of this out of recycled material. And being like the wren, remember we talked about the wrens that were flying around in my house? Being clever and witty and being able to be cunning and outsmarting. We're going to have to use our wits to get out of the matrix, folks. So, we have some milestones. So by June the 13th, we want to have our location established. And so when we went to the board this past time with this proposal broken down and then filled out, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. We set some goals for ourselves. Okay. We need to know where our options are for this garden because our community has common area land. Okay. So the board is, I communicated this with the board. And so the board this week, we're going out to look at the possibilities to put our thing in. So that's our first one. We have to have this done by June 13th at 5 p.m. So we have already marked this off our list. And this week, it will be over with. So then we have this portion. We can start creating our layout. So I'm super excited. So by July 17th, this gives us almost a week after finding it. We should have our whole layout vision. But anyway, this is great because now we have more time. Because if we don't really get on the ball starting this food forest, we're going to miss the ball for our first planting season. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. We need to have at least our seedlings going by the time winter gets here. Okay, so we're going to have our vision and everything laid out by July 17th. Okay, so our ASAP grants and others. Okay, so our financing. We have to get this done as soon as possible. We have 2 people that are on our committee that are helping us with writing grants. And then we are creating our community fundraising channels. After we get our location established, we're going to bring people in and get them really excited. And we're going to create some excitement in our community about bringing people out and saying, hey, this is where it's going to be. What do you guys think? Let's get involved. Let's sign more people up. And then after we have that, we can determine when we're going to kick off our whole preparation of this. So this is the first portion of what you have to do to get the ball rolling. This is what you have to do, is to get all this on paper. So I have these set up as forms. And if anyone is interested in starting your own garden, I can send you the information as we're doing it, and you can use it as a guideline. You can take it and edit it and use the same layout for yourself. We've put a lot of minds into this, and this is all grassroots stuff, folks. We're learning to do for ourselves. We're learning to do all this stuff like they did back in the day when they sat and watched nature. And they realized that the best way to grow a tree is to let the tree drop a fruit on the ground and it will rot and grow into another tree. That's how nature works. That's putrefaction. That's alchemy gardening 101. Everything can come from nature to start your garden. You don't need anything special and fancy. They didn't have all that in the old days. In the old days, they took the shit from their animals and they put it on their garden. They raked the leaves up because the mighty oak is a sacred tree. Every part of an oak is good. Every part. So, you know, they went to nature. So we're going back to nature. It's back to nature, baby. Back to nature. So we're trying to think of a name that would be great for us to name our community garden. And so I would love some ideas on what you think would be a great name that would be great to identify our food forest as a you know, something that we want to start. Like, you know, we want to be able to pass the torch onto other communities so they can start. Maybe we can call it Pass the Torch, right? Or something like that. Anyway, love to hear your thoughts and you know, what you think and how you guys can, you know, maybe do this too, so we can all support each other. We can do this across the world. Everybody can do this. So with that, when you come and find me, I'll be here, because we're living in the past, present, and the future all at the same time. We're moving into the mother's timeline, and we're stepping ourselves out little by little out of the matrix and back into the planet, and getting back in touch with our divine mother energy. And we're bringing heaven to earth and freeing all humanity from bondage. So with that, I hope to catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching Sacred Enzyme. Get out there and start your community garden too. We can do it. We can do it. Hope to catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.